Bienvenidos and welcome back to Puro Pinche Gol, the place where we discuss all things USMNT y la selección mexicana. My name is Adrian. I'm joined once again by my co-host and Tocayo, Adrian. Adrian, what's going on, man?
Dude, you know what's going on. You know what's going on. My favorite topic, once again, Doña Fede giving us things to talk about. So, you know how I be.
Hey, man, it'd be like that. So yeah, man, this episode, like you said, news surrounding Doña Fede, la Federación Mexicana, always giving us new topics to talk about, and this one is spicy for especially for you, man. Something you've been
hmm
clamoring for and pushing for. Um, Yon De Luisa, the Mexican president, is not going to seek re-election. He's out. So yeah, we'll get right into that. Before we start, Adrian, quickly, where can our viewers find us?
Man, if they want to see our pretty faces, they can find us on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on the notifications. If they're just fine listening to our delightful voices, they can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or any other podcast service they're a subscriber on.
Awesome. Yeah, make sure to check us out on any social media platform that you choose. So let's get right into it, man. So I think just a quick summary here. On 22nd of February, Federación Mexicana FEMEXFUT released a statement saying that Yon De Luisa was not going to seek further re-election as the FEMEXFUT president. What, in your opinion, or that you've researched, that you've listened to and seen, what is the prominent cause of this? Why is he stepping down after only almost a little bit over 4 years president?
Definitely. So the reason why Doña Fede is saying bye bye, Yon De Luisa, it's because for a couple of things. I think everyone agrees that he should have resigned after 2022, right? I mean, it was a big failure, the biggest one for the last, I don't know, 40 years for ELTRI. But most of the what I've researched so far and what I've heard and listened to and saw on the media out there is that there's a few reasons why. Uh, for once, as you said, he's not going to be seeking re-election during the board meeting in May, where all the owners and presidents of LIGAMX join and make the vote to choose who's going to be the next president of Doña Fede. So he's not seeking re-election during May. One of the reasons why people are claiming he is resigning or not choosing to re-election is one because of the naming of Aires de Purga as the sporting director of ELTRI. That's one thing. Second is uh, he's been clashing with the new dueños of el fútbol mexicano, who are Ira Ragorri, Jorge Alberto Hank, and Don Salinas Pliego. So he has allegiance to Emilio Azcárraga. He understands that Emilio Azcárraga is taking a step back in this kind of situation. So he knows that it was just a matter of time for for him to get the boot. And lastly, people are saying that while he was okay with uh, Diego Coca being the next coach for the three, he did not like the fact that he was kept out of the loop for that decision. So these are the biggest reasons why he just said, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm gonna move on and continue with the next chapter in my life. So spicy, dude.
Yeah, indeed. So obviously he was head when the biggest fracaso of Mexican football, at least in Mexican football recent history, happened. Um, Putting that to the side, that
hmm
fracaso, how do we rate his overall 4.5 year tenure? Do you think he did good? Do you think football wise? Not let's not talk about the whole FEMEXFUT side of the directivos, la Federación, the whole bureaucracy of it, right? Yeah,
yeah.
football wise, honors and runner ups, losses, et cetera, et cetera. What were some of the highlights of his tenure, and what were some of the not so much highlights?
So I guess before I make my decision or my argument of whether Yon De Luisa's tenure was successful or a failure, here are some of the W's that he collected. One, the Gold Cup on 2019. Two, hosting the 2026 World Cup, which I mean that goes with an asterisk, right? That's not isn't necessarily a El Tri win, but it is definitely a Doña Fede win.
Sure.
And lastly, the bronze medal at the Olympic Games in 2020, which bronze is not the best, but it's a medal he gets to hang on his neck. Now, looking at the L's, right? He was a runner-up in the Nations League 2019-2020. He was a runner-up in Gold Cup 2021. Let me remind everyone that he lost these two finals against the US, so that adds salt to the wound. Um, then
And all within
having
one summer.
exactly all within one summer. Yeah, so come on, dude. Um, then after that, the men and women national teams missed the 2024 Olympic Games, so they're not going to be there representing Mexico in 2024. On top of that, the sub 20 ELTRI's men team it also missed out on this year World Cup. And lastly, the women national team is missing the 2023 World Cup in New Zealand. So those are the W's and the L's that Yon De Luisa collected football wise, right? Sport wise, not necessarily money wise, because we all know that they made a lot of money,
He won
regardless of the
there.
hills. Yeah. So now that we have uncovered all of his W's and L's, I have to say that this is mainly a failure sport wise for him. It was a disastrous 2021 and 2022 with El Tata Mezquino at the helm of ELTRI. He was adamant and very stubborn to keep El Tata Martino when we all knew he should have fired his ass when he could have. And then on top of, you know, just essentially providing or adding more wood to the fire of the U.S. soccer is beating Doña Fede and ELTRI in all aspects. So losing those two back-to-back finals to the U.S., increases the narrative of or strengthens the narrative of Mexico is no longer el gigante de Concacaf, and I think that's has been building up for the last 10 years. This just goes to show that now is a reality.
Yeah, it's at least the reality for the last couple of years. Before that, the 2010 to 2018, I'd say Mexico was completely dominant. But I think the biggest asterisk here, the biggest L, as you were reading those out, is missing out on the Olympic Games.
Yeah,
Mexico, poor Mexico, but Mexico doesn't normally get a lot of medals at the Olympics, and they normally at least get one from soccer, right? From futbol.
yeah.
They've been pretty consistent at getting at least a bronze. They got a gold a couple years ago, 2012, I think, right? Um,
Hmm.
in England, and so they've been doing well, and to have them not qualify to a tournament that probably wasn't seen that prestigious back 2010 50, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, is starting to get steam. I feel like people are starting to take it more serious, and it's a way to really show your youth 23 talent, because I think it's all
Yeah,
the players except for three are under 23 years old. um, so show your talent to the world, and obviously represent your country at a high level. So man, missing those for the men and the women, and the women missing the World Cup. It's just after so much money that's been put into LIGAMX femenil, and
hmm
how much we've seen that grow. It's just disappointing for sure. And just to not see Mexico at the Olympic Games, that's gonna be hard pill to swallow.
yeah,
Um, but
definitely.
yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think overall disaster, and then if you add the World Cup to it, just a complete failure footballistic wise.
Failure, dude. Yeah, I mean, as much as we want to, throw flowers at Yon De Luisa, which, by the way, it isn't necessarily that we really wanted to do it, but we're just nice guys, and we want to do that kind of stuff to him. It's difficult to counterbalance all those L's, and on top of that, he's just he never had a stronghold on any decisions uh, made by Doña Fede during his tenure. Like, you could tell he was just a puppet for Emilio Escárraga and the other dueños del fútbol mexicano. Like, you can definitely understand he wasn't necessarily making the big decisions. He was just there to be a face for Doña Fede, more for publicity stunts rather than for actual impactful decisions.
Right. So I mean, he So he's going to be out after May. Is he going to be completely out of the picture for La Federación Mexicana? Is he still retaining any positions? Is he staying on board on other things or anything?
Great question, my friend. So, what's going to happen with him while he is not seeking re-election for Doña Fede? He is keeping his gig as the 2026 World Cup host committee president. Is this a
Wow.
coincidence? I don't think so. so, so one thing that I want to add here is Emilio Azcárraga, who is the owner of Televisa, it's trying to fulfill a dream of his to host a World Cup in Mexico because his father had hosted a World Cup in Mexico as the Televisa owner, and his grandfather also did it. So the 70 in Mexico and 86 in Mexico, those are the two World Cups that the Scarraga family has hosted as the broadcaster the broadcaster for the World Cup, and now Emilio Escarragayan has the consigna of making this next World Cup his World Cup, like his passion project, right? So he wants to keep Yon De Luisa at the helm of that committee because Yon De Luisa is going to be his right hand to pursue uh, and execute the orders that Azcárraga asked him to do in benefit or in pro of TUDN and Televisa. So this is not a coincidence. Yonderista just realized that, you know what, it's time for me to jump out and continue doing the other gig that I have because I owe myself to Milos Carraga. I'm an ally to him, and if Iraragorri wants to, come here and make the decisions, I just want to wash my hands and move on. So, and that's the whole reason why Azcárraga is like taking a step back from ELTRI
Mm.
and focusing on how to make money from 2026. The most, I guess, make the most that he can. So that's yeah, it's interesting, man. I mean, things don't doesn't. You think that things happen for a reason, and they do because they happen for a reason because Emilio Carraga and the owners of the Fútbol Mexicano want those
Make
things
it
to
so.
happen. So,
All right.
yes, exactly.
Jeez.
So,
All right, man. Last
uh,
topic here before we wrap it up for the night. Who's candidate? Have they said who's candidate to replace him? Who's going to be running, for election for this presidency?
So, I've been asking around, I've been looking around, and there's a couple of names that come to the table, right? I think the ideal and common sense candidate is Mauricio Culebro, who is currently Tigres president. Um, like, if you put in consideration everything, his resume and his previous experiences, his education, I think he hits every single item on the checklist. He understands the sport. He has experience being, the sporting director. He has experience of being the marketing director. He understands LIGAMX. He understands how CONCACAF and FIFA work because he has had experiences working with them as well. And he has close ties with those that own the Mexican football, right? So he will be an ideal candidate. Now, will he get the job? I will be highly surprised if Mauricio Culebro takes the gig just because he has allegiance to Televisa and Yon De Luisa, so I wouldn't think that he would like to betray Yon De Luisa in any way or Emilio Escarragayan. So I think he
Mm.
will take, he will wait for his time because it's gonna come. If it is in this World Cup, it's gonna be the next one because I think he's just the no nonsense candidate. He's the one that needs to take that job. He will do amazing on it. But leaving Mauricio Culebra aside, and looking at the other options, I think there's only three viable options that you can choose here. Two of them that are viejos conocidos in the name of Mikel Arriola, who is currently the LIGAMX president, and González Iñárritu, who has been part of Selecciones Nacionales in different positions and roles. He hasn't held the presidency of ELTRI, I think, if I'm not mistaken, but uh, he has held like other roles within Doña Fede, and he has also been president of different Liga MX teams. So I will say those two are like the go to names for this position. But here's the thing: since Iraragorri and Jorge Alberto Hank and Salinas Pliego are essentially taking over ELTRI and Doña Fede, pundits that have ties with the inner circle of Iraragorri's inner circle, sorry, they think that he will either name himself or put his name up for candidacy uh, for the presidency of Doña Fede, or he will choose someone that he has worked with that he can. I don't want to say manipulate because that's a heavy word, but it is what it is. To, I guess, work with that will be like an easy pass for him, and that will be Atlas' current president, whose name is Jose Riestra. So um, if Jose Riestra ends up as Doña Fede's next president, then it shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. It shouldn't, caught anyone, by surprise, or it shouldn't catch you off guard that Jose Riestra takes that job, because as we've been preaching for the last couple of episodes regarding Doña Fede, Iraragorri is going to be, when it's not going to be, he's actually now the big kahuna in el fútbol mexicano.
Damn. And do we know when, the next, obviously the meeting is in May, when they kind of vote on this. Do you have a feeling when they'll start popping up names? As man, this guy's gonna throwing his name in there. This guy's throwing his name in there.
Yeah, I would say maybe in the next 2 months, maybe like by the end of March, beginning of April, we should definitely have a good sense of who is going to be the next Doña Fede president. A lot of names are gonna pop out right now. I wouldn't discard any of the three ones that I just gave you today, or even Iraragorri, as the as putting making being the self-proclaimed president of FEMEXFUT. But yeah, I would say by early April we should definitely have, or at least pundits should be settling down on a specific name that most likely will be the next presidente de la FEMEXFUT.
The next puppet.
The next puppet, unfortunately. Yeah, it doesn't really matter who you put there, man. It's always gonna be the same shit. So
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't mind if it is a Iragorri. Like, all right, if you're gonna take over, just go for it, dude. Just pedal to the metal, full
Just do it
throttle.
already.
Just take
Yeah.
over. Yeah, don't half-ass it.
Yeah, man. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how that develops here the next couple months. Adrian, as we're wrapping it up, man, where can our listeners find us, brother?
Again, they can find us on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on the notifications. They can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other podcast services. And lastly, they can find us at Puro Pinche Gol on Instagram and Twitter. We post some stuff every now and then.
Yeah, follow us if you like fire memes for sure. Well, Adrian, another pleasure here being with you, man, tonight discussing this this spicy topic that we're never left without things to talk about with La FEMEXFUT. So maybe next week we'll have another crazy ass story. But I'll see you next week then, brother. I'll see you in the next one.
Take it easy, my man.
See you, man.
See ya.